So you're thinking of moving from Tennessee to Oklahoma. I can tell you from personal experience because I have moved from Tennessee to Oklahoma. So from personal experience, from things that I researched, I want to tell you some of the pros and cons of making that move from Tennessee to Oklahoma. My name is Kinsley and I'm a local realtor in Edmond, Oklahoma and its surrounding areas. Whether you're thinking about moving in 10 days or 10 months, I would love to be able to work with you and help you on your move. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can give me a call, text, email, you can send me a DM or schedule a Google Meet so that we can get in contact and I can help you on your move. I love working with people every single day and helping them find their Oklahoma homes. So like I said, in this video, I want to talk through some of the pros, some of the cons of Oklahoma. And I've got to be honest, at this point in my life, I've actually lived longer in Tennessee and have lived in more places in Tennessee than I have in Oklahoma. I moved here to Oklahoma about 3 years ago. Since then, I've lived in the Northwest Oklahoma City, Edmond area, and I really have fallen in love with the city of Edmond. But I also spent a lot of my life within Tennessee. I lived in Clarksville, I lived in the Nashville metro area, and for a short time, I even lived in East Tennessee, right kind of in the Pigeon Forge area. And so there's so many things that I love about Tennessee, but as I've moved to Oklahoma and lived here for a few years, I've honestly fallen in love with so many of the things that Oklahoma has to offer. So some of the pros about making that move from Tennessee to Oklahoma is obviously what is almost in every video like this is the housing prices. Housing prices tend to be much more affordable here than what you're gonna find in parts of Tennessee. Now, I know that there are places in Tennessee where they might be pretty comparable, but if I'm thinking kind of that Nashville metro area, which is where I specifically moved from right before we lived here, housing prices were so much higher and you can get so much more bang for your buck here in Oklahoma than what we were going to be able to afford in Nashville. The next thing is I feel like Oklahoma has more of that small town feel and community, whereas specifically Nashville and even some of Eastern Tennessee, it's definitely expanding and growing very rapidly. There's a lot of industries and tourism within those cities. It can sometimes feel overwhelming in the amount of people that live there. And I feel like Oklahoma still has kind of that small town feel, kind of the charm to it that you are starting to kind of lose in Tennessee. Now, some people move to Tennessee and they love the feel of what they have there, and I understand that completely. But I would say overall, there's kind of a smaller town feel in Oklahoma than what is encompassing in Tennessee. Which kind of leads me to point number 3, which is the lower population density. There is less people kind of per square foot here in Oklahoma than what's in Tennessee, specifically, again, those big metro areas. I think part of the reason you get that small town feel is because there literally are less people. But I will also say that a lot of people are moving to the Oklahoma City metro area. I definitely think we're gonna maybe experience more of that growth of people and it's gonna be harder to maintain that feel, but I definitely think the people genuinely do have that kind of Southern hospitality to them here that's gonna help maintain some of that small town feel. The fourth thing is the traffic. The traffic here in specifically the Oklahoma City metro is so much easier to navigate than specifically the traffic in Nashville, the traffic even in the eastern side. Again, there's so many people and industries in those parts of Tennessee that the traffic can get crazy at times. And here I will say you can get in traffic, but it's not nearly to the extent of what you're gonna experience in those parts of Tennessee that I mentioned. Number 5, and this is not really a pro or a con, but Oklahoma is just a different cultural experience than what you're gonna feel in Tennessee. There are parts of Oklahoma with its history and its Native American background where you just experience a different type of culture than what you're gonna experience in Tennessee. Tennessee has a lot of great culture as well, and there's parts of it that Oklahoma doesn't have. But if you're not sure if you would like that feeling, then I suggest you come and visit and kind of get a feel for the culture and what it feels like to live in Oklahoma. Number 6 is that Oklahoma is more central. Obviously, as you look at the United States, it's more towards the middle than Tennessee is, which if you are a big traveler and you like to go East Coast, West Coast, you are obviously not closer to the East Coast, but you are closer to the West Coast. And you're able to get places typically more quickly than what you'd be able to get to from Tennessee because Tennessee is more eastern. Number 7 is that typically Oklahoma is less humid. Now, there is humidity in Oklahoma, so don't come and visit and say that there's humidity and hold me to that because there is humidity, but I would say overall it is less here in Oklahoma than what is in Tennessee. And that also kind of brings me to my last point, which is the allergies. And I wasn't even sure if I should include this because everybody's different, but I know for me personally, I always had horrible allergies in Tennessee, there was always like once a year I would get a horrible sinus infection. I would lose all my sense of taste and smell because of my sinuses and my allergies. And then we moved here and my allergies haven't disappeared, but they have definitely decreased tremendously. However, a lot of people move to Oklahoma and they have allergies they've never had before. So again, I think it's kind of what you're allergic to. I will say it does get really windy here and it can be really dry. And so sometimes that dirt in the air being blown around causes a lot of allergy issues for people here. But at least for me and my experience, my allergies are much better here in Oklahoma than what I had in Tennessee. Now we're gonna get into some of the cons. And the first one is more of that nightlife feel. I will say I feel like Oklahoma City, specifically where I live in Edmond, it definitely does not have the nightlife that Nashville has. Broadway in Nashville is definitely a popular spot. There's a lot that goes on there, and we don't really have that same feel. There is a feel to specifically Nashville that I don't think you could recreate even if you tried. Now, I do love Oklahoma City's downtown. I think it's really cute and I love parts of it. I think it's unique, and Nashville doesn't have the same downtown that Oklahoma City does, but I think the nightlife is probably going to be a little bit later and probably more in Nashville than what you would find here in Oklahoma City. The second thing, and I did mention this earlier, and I do want to say that Oklahoma does have a lot of natural beauty. There are trees and there are lakes and there is so much to Oklahoma that really is beautiful. But I think when you compare them, that Tennessee does have more. You have the Smoky Mountains, you have a lot more kind of rolling hills. I feel like Tennessee, it's pretty much like that no matter where you're at. It's a lot more luscious and rolling hills, whereas Oklahoma, there are parts like that for sure. But there's also parts where it is more flat and prairie land, and it's not as consistent as what Tennessee has. The next thing is the things to do, and there's a lot to do here in Oklahoma. We have, especially within Oklahoma City, there's lots of attractions. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder, you have lots of different museums and parks and even amusement parks, but I think when you're comparing Oklahoma to Tennessee and all that it offers, again, you've got the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area, you've got the Nashville area, there really is a lot offered in Tennessee. And I do think that comparing them, they're not apples to apples, but really Tennessee does offer a lot of things to do. Oklahoma has things, but I don't think it's to the same scale that Tennessee has. And then the last thing, and this I'm sure varies county to county and depending on where you live within each state, but from personal experiences, our property taxes tend to be more here in Oklahoma than what was in Tennessee. And again, I know this can vary depending on county and there's a lot of factors that play into it. I will just say from my personal experience, we have seen definitely an increase of property taxes here than what was in Tennessee. So if you are thinking about moving, I would maybe, see what property taxes are like where you live now, and as you're figuring out your budget, compare it to where you might be looking to move in Oklahoma. To give you some context, in our Oklahoma City metro, I typically calculate about 1% for property taxes. If you're in Edmond, where I live, they're on the higher end of 1%, maybe 1.1, whereas if you're in Oklahoma City, you're gonna be closer to that 1 mark. But that's kind of an easy rule of thumb, around that 1%, and just maybe compare that to what you're paying now. Again, if you're thinking about making the move and you're really trying to get into the logistics of budgeting and pricing, I definitely think that's something to consider. So I hope that this video was helpful. Tennessee holds a special place in my heart. That's where my husband and I met. That is where we got married. That's where I spent, at this point, the majority of my life. And there's so much about Tennessee that I love. However, I will say that I also have loved living in Oklahoma. I love where I live in Edmond. I love the people that I've met and the community that we've built. I love the things that we're learning every day that's new to Oklahoma and experiencing the new things. So if you're thinking about making this move and you want to talk to somebody who has made the exact move themselves, then please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to kind of talk through some of the things that you're thinking about and help you just kind of answer your questions. So thank you for watching until the end of this video, and I will catch you in my next one.